Welcome to the most challenging journey of your life. Well, dare I say the most challenging, the most rewarding as well, yeah? A lot of medical students, when they get into medical school, they tend to ask themselves a lot of questions. How am I going to be able to cope in this place? Yeah, and I remember myself, before I got into medical school, yeah, I didn't have like uncles or aunts who were medical doctors to put me through and to tell me what was actually necessary to become a medical doctor. Yeah, I was also gripped with a certain level of fear because I was asking myself, how am I going to be able to study effectively to pass exams? Like, there was this clamor, the exams are so tough, you're not going to be able to make it, blah blah blah. But then at the end of the day, I was able to graduate as a medical doctor. Yeah? And most of these people that are medical doctors, they have like something that works for them. At the end of this video, you're going to literally know how to study effectively to be able to become a medical doctor. Hi there, I am Njoku Clara Martins, NGM for short. I'm a medical doctor living in Nigeria. I make YouTube videos to help medical students navigate the challenges of medical school and become even better doctors. I also share the experiences of other medical doctors as well, so you're very much welcome to my channel. Medical school is hard, but I need you to ask yourself this question. What if you could make your medical school journey a little less difficult? Today I'm going to be showing you how to best study in medical school, yeah, and at the end of this video I'm going to give you 5 tips to help you make your study more efficient. 50% of medical students report feeling overwhelmed by their coursework, literally, yeah. I believe it's actually more. Do you get? Sometimes it's just the way maybe you're able to handle it. You don't come off as being overwhelmed, yeah, but then a lot of students are overwhelmed by their coursework in medical school, and medical school is no beans. Like, when I mean no beans, it is not easy, yeah, but it is not impossible. I just want you to have that at the back of your mind, yeah. And whether you're thinking of getting into medical school, or you're a medical student, or maybe you're just a student and you just want to make better grades and all of that, I'm sure this video is going to be super helpful to you, so I need you to stick around till the end of it. In order for us to do this here, I'm going to be giving you 5 ways to study in medical school. Some of these techniques and tips I'm going to be sharing with you today actually helped me to graduate medical school with a distinction, yeah. So it's not like it's not proven. Actually, I'm a living testimony, yeah. And I just thought, yeah, I'm sure a lot of us would definitely benefit from this. The first is active recall, yeah. So research suggests that active recall can improve medical students' knowledge retention by up to 50%. What is active recall? Active recall is a technique that relies on your brain retrieving the information, as opposed to classic learning methods that rely on your brain storing information. So your natural passive learning techniques will help you to literally store information, but active recall strains your brain cells a little more to help you to retrieve the information that is supposedly already there. So it requires that after study you undergo a series of active recall in order for you to ascertain what really is inside your brain exactly. How do you use active recall? Recall requires that you ask yourself a series of questions after reading your text. Naturally, you just tend to study and then at the end of the day close your book and that's for the day. But active recall demands or requires that you ask yourself a series of questions here to help you better know for real what you actually studied, if you have the information that you actually stored in your brain. Answering these questions helps strengthen the neural pathway per se that helps you store this information a little better. So imagine you've just finished studying a particular text. Maybe you've just finished studying about the head and neck, yeah, embryology of the head and neck, yeah, and you want to really know what you know. After reading the text, you go back and ask yourself some kind of question. At what week does the head and neck form? Yes, those things help you to know what you actually know. Do you get? To be sure that you have the information you just studied. There's something about questions here. When you ask yourself a question, it helps you think. Exactly. So it helps you think about, do I really know this thing? If you don't know it, you have to go and read it again. Maybe the information was not too clear. So active recall for me, I feel, is one of the most important study patterns medical students should use while studying. The next study technique I need us to look at is the Feynman's technique. It is a powerful method for learning and teaching that was popularized by the legendary physicist Richard Feynman. Now, we're not going to burden ourselves with whoever popularized it and all. We just need it to work for us. Yeah, so the Feynman's technique helps us to understand complex concepts. Now, in medical school, you're going to come across a lot of complex things, a lot of theories, a lot of techniques, a lot of things, yes. So, and you need to actually understand it. Feynman's technique is there to help you. Now, anything per se that you feel is very complex, you are going to be able to break it down using the Feynman's technique. Now, how does the Feynman's technique work? How to use the Feynman's techniques can be summarized in 4 steps. You choose a concept, you teach it to a child. Technically, you teach it to somebody else like you're teaching it to a child. Then you identify the gaps and then you review and refine. Now, when you're teaching a child, you have to use very simple terms, something they can be able to understand, something that works exactly for them. Yeah, so if that child understands it, that's to say you've broken it down into very simple terms. Exactly. And another thing about the Feynman's technique is that it improves your communication skill. And medicine is about communication, no matter how much you want to emphasize on your stuff and all of that. If you cannot be able to communicate with your patient and communicate your stuff to somebody else, I don't think your stuff will make any. Well, you could save lives here, but then communication skills is actually very much important. So the Feynman's technique does 2 things. It simplifies complex concepts and then it helps improve your communication skills. One beautiful thing about the Feynman's technique is that as you're teaching somebody else, it even becomes clearer to you. Yeah, if the child is able to understand the concept that you just explained there, so you've done a justice. Then another thing you need to do is to review it. Go back and see if you quite understood or what you explained to the person actually tallies with the concept, with the idea of the concept, or with what the topic is actually talking about. Then after that, you review and you refine it. Like, you go over it, see if there are any gaps, see if maybe you lost or you missed out something, and then you consolidate on it. It helps in both your group discussions. I know if you don't have a group discussion, please do. I have emphasized it in a lot of my videos, and it works wonders. It not only helps you to communicate whatever it is you know, it also helps you to know what other people know, because you cannot exhaust everything in medical school. What you know, somebody else knows, or what you don't know or you didn't see in the word during clinical rotation, somebody else saw. And it helps you to communicate those ideas and consolidate on what you know. Now, the next way to study medical school is by the use of spaced repetition. Spaced repetition requires that after learning a particular material, you give a little interval and you study it again, and then a little more interval and you study it again. Now, why do we go back to study and study and study? Now, there's something about the brain. It works in a very beautiful way. Anything per se that you've looked at or you've gone over 1,000 times would definitely stick to your brain, except maybe you have some sort of thing working inside your head that I don't know about. But yes, it definitely works wonders. It relies on still active recall because it is an active learning strategy. Naturally, one would just read a particular material and be done with it, but the spaced repetition requires that after you read a particular material, you memorize it, you tend to study it again or review it again at an increasing interval. So say you read a particular material at 0 hour, you're expected to review it again after 12 hours, and then after 48 hours, and after 72 hours, and just like that after 12 days, after just at increasing intervals. This particular method can be very useful to even people that want to write maybe big exams like PLAB examinations and AMCs and the likes here, but it can also be useful in medical school. Now, myself in particular, I don't intend to read a particular material just once because I don't think it's going to stick. Spaced repetition is your go-to, literally, both for big exams and maybe for your MBBS examinations if you have the luxury of time. What method we're going to be talking about is the use of flashcards. Now, I don't know how many of us have heard about Anki cards, yeah? So that's another method. There are different kinds of cards, but the most popular one everybody knows about is the Anki cards. How does the flashcard works? It's still under the principle of active recall, yeah, because it's also an active learning strategy. But in the flashcards, you tend to write the question you want to answer on a particular card, and at the back of it you write the answer to the question. Yeah, you group the cards into sets. The particular set you want to be revising after 24 hours, and the set you want to be revising after 48 hours. Yeah, because you cannot revise all of them at once. Exactly. So after studying a particular material, you go through the questions and you try to remember, or you try to answer the question without looking at the answer. Remember, the question is on the front end and the answer to the question is at the back end. Yeah, so you look at the question and strain your brain. The idea is that while you're thinking, it allows you the luxury of thoughts. It allows you to think about the question you're asking yourself, and then it helps you strain your brain a little more to think about the answer. Now, in a scenario where you cannot be able to provide the answer, you simply turn the card and get the answer. And by the time you do this like very frequently, over and over and over again for a particular topic, I don't think there's any question in that topic you wouldn't be able to answer. Now, the last way to study medical school here is something I got to find out around the beginning of my medical school journey. And I feel like it legit helped me because it feels like the summary of all the 4 steps we just spoke about. So in this last method, it's called P R raised to the power of 4. So P R raised to the power of 4. The P there is preview, the first R is read, the second R is recall, the third R is repetition, and the last R is to review. Yeah, so the P, before you get to read any particular material, you skim through the material. You're not sitting to read it in this instance here. You're just previewing what exactly you're going to read. Now, in this preview, a lot of people just maybe gloss over how many chapters are there, how many pages are there in the text and all of that. But the most important thing to do there is to ask yourself some questions. Every material tends to answer a particular question. So in your process of skimming through the material, you tend to ask yourself, what exactly is this material talking about? A preview. So in reading, your idea is to answer those questions you've written. Yeah, because I feel the questions are the more important things there. Aside getting the concept here, the questions there helps you to focus on a particular thing. Then you can get any other points that was mentioned in the text while still studying. Yeah, so in the second hour, that's the recall, you tend to do the active recall like we just talked about. You tend to ask yourself, okay, what did I get from this material? If I ask myself this particular question, do I know what I'm talking about? If I ask myself about this particular concept, do I really understand what it is? And the third hour is repetition. In your bid to just answer the question and tell yourself, oh, I've gotten it at that particular time, it is necessary that you do it, or you go over the active recall again in a second or at a later time. That's the same thing with the spaced repetition we just talked about. In the review, you're questioning or you're asking yourself, am I confident about what I know? So now here's the thing. Some people read a particular material and they just grasp a little knowledge of it and they want to continue with other materials without really checking themselves to know if they grasp or they have confidence of the knowledge they have. Yeah, so that confidence comes from the point of not leaving any gaps, knowing the material for what it really is, not assuming anything. I'm going to help you, give you some tips to make execution of these methods easier. So the first tip is to take notes here. This is actually very important. Whether you're taking notes in class, Whether you're taking notes in class, maybe during lectures, or you're taking notes at home while studying in order to make your work or what you're reading a little less bulky. Yeah, so this would literally be of help. Some people actually color code their work, like use different colors to make reading very interesting and all of that. If you have iPads and all, you're at a little more advantage here. In medical school, there's a lot to study. There is a lot to study, but taking notes in class helps you narrow down what is important, helps you compress or figure out what is actually high yield. Now we all know everything in medical school is important, but then there are some things that are high yield that is more likely to come out in your examinations. And mind you, we're not just preparing for examinations here. Yeah, we are preparing both to be better doctors and then to pass our examinations. The next tip I need to share with you to help make execution of studying patterns very much easy is not to rely on motivation. Now, I know a lot of us want to feel like doing something before we do something. I don't feel like studying today. I don't feel like doing this today. But nah, trust me, motivation here doesn't work. You need discipline. Well, sometimes it might just help bring you out of bed and all of that. But then why wait till you feel like doing something before you do it? So the idea is that whatever it is you are taught in school, you go back home and you read it that particular day. So you come back home and you don't feel like reading. So you're already setting yourself one step backwards. The tip I need to share with you to help make execution of this methods way easier is that organization is key. Yeah, I don't know how people go through medical school without or pass their examinations without actually organizing themselves, organizing their work and all of that. I agree that the levels of organization differ, but then you need to be at a certain level of organization to be able to pass your examination or to even know what exactly you're taught in school. At some point in medical school, everything you're going to be taught is going to be more overwhelming. Remember our statistics that 50% of medical students tend to see their coursework as being overwhelming. Yeah, so I feel like that's even more, well, that's talk for another day. But yes, before you get to that point of feeling overwhelmed, yeah, why not organize yourself a little more? I feel organization will help prevent you from being overwhelmed. Last point, or the last tip to help you execute this even more better is to eliminate distractions. Now, we cannot overemphasize this enough because our brain thrives on those little surges of dopamine and all of that here, and we tend to go over our phone, scroll, and before we know it, maybe we are using our phone to browse, and then the little research you want to do now turns into a long scrolling, a long hour of scrolling and all of that. So we want to eliminate that. There's this person I follow on YouTube, yeah, and I've been following for a very long time. So before he studies, yeah, he throws his phone under his bed. Maybe that's his own way of eliminating distraction. So maybe you can find a way to go around it. You can flight your phone or whatnot, yeah. But for some people, yeah, I got this question one time in one of my videos, my comment section on one of my videos. The person asked, what if my phone is what I'm using to read, like you're using your iPad to study, and then you cannot actually eliminate that, yeah, but you can actually flight your phone or put it on do not disturb for the purpose of still letting you browse whatever it is you want to browse. I would actually advise that you don't make your phone your reading tool. For some people it works for them, but it will actually be very difficult for you. I, for one, I use my phone most of the time, yeah, because I could always put my phone on D&D. If you cannot be able to navigate that challenge of always checking your phone and all of that, so take it away, put it out of sight, and use your text, use your hard copy text. So you're just starting medical school, or like your way into it, or you're considering getting into medical school, I'm sure these steps would be of great use to you. So if you implement any of this method, you mustn't pick all of them. You can just use the active recall or spaced repetition, but I'm sure you'll find like a balance somewhere of implementing all of them. Just implement, even if it's one of these steps here. I guarantee that you're going to see better results or yield better results and get better experience in medical school. So I know a lot of you have been watching my videos without subscribing. So I'm talking to you now watching this video. Subscribe, hit the subscribe button. And as well, if this video was very much impactful to you, I need you to leave a comment in the comment section. Or if you have any other study methods aside the ones I've mentioned in this video, do well to share it, because I know a lot of medical students are struggling and we can be able to help them. If you can, do well to leave a comment in the comment section below. So yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.